Welcome back to Fiction Flux, everyone. Today we are starting a brand new fanfic, and honestly this one has been living rent-free in my head for weeks. The topic is, what if Female Deku was summoned as Gojo Satoru's strongest curse? That's right. Grab whatever you're drinking, get comfortable, and let's go. There is no minimum requirement for becoming a curse. You don't have to be old, you don't have to be dramatic about it. You don't have to die in some spectacular, story-worthy way that people will remember. You just have to feel enough of the wrong thing, for long enough, in a world that is doing absolutely nothing to help you, until the energy of all that feeling stops being yours and starts being something else entirely. Something that doesn't need permission to exist. Something that doesn't need a quirk. Something that the universe, for once, cannot tell no. Izumi Midoriya did not mean to become a curse. But then again, most of the best curses never do. It started, as most things in her life started, with a specific and deeply personal kind of unfairness. She was 14 years old. She was standing on a bridge. Below her, the river moved with the slow indifference of water that has never once cared about anything, which she was beginning to think was the correct approach to existence. Behind her, the city blazed with heroes and billboards, and the quiet, comfortable assumption that the world made sense. In front of her, nothing. Just open air and the very recent memory of All Might's voice saying the word no in the gentlest possible way, which she was starting to think was somehow worse than if he had been cruel about it. She had been collecting grief for 10 years. This is the part people don't understand about grief. It doesn't dissolve. It doesn't get processed and filed away and forgotten. It accumulates, every burned notebook. Every time Kaken looked through her like she wasn't standing right there. Every doctor's appointment. Every polite, professional, carefully worded confirmation that she was, by the official measurements of a world built entirely around quirks, nothing. 10 years of that kind of nothing piles up. And here is what nobody in the JJK universe ever had the bad luck to discover, because the worlds had never touched before, because the borders between dimensions are usually much better maintained than this, because the specific combination of Izumi Midoriya's 10 years of refined, categorized, meticulously analyzed grief had never before been concentrated into a single human body standing on a single bridge at a single moment of complete and total abandonment. Cursed energy does not care about borders. It does not care about dimensions. It does not care that Izumi Midoriya was born in a world with quirks and not curses, a world where the supernatural was explained by genetics and toe joints and government registration systems rather than by the accumulated spiritual weight of human suffering. Cursed energy cares about exactly one thing: negative emotion. And Izumi Midoriya, standing on that bridge at 14 years old, with 47 notebooks worth of quiet, devastating grief compressed into her chest like a star that had been collapsing for a decade, was currently producing more cursed energy than the entire Tokyo metropolitan area combined. She didn't feel it happen. She felt instead something that she would later have no way to describe because she would have no later. Not exactly, not in the way she had been planning, a kind of opening. Like a door. Like the universe finally noticing her, not kindly, not gently, not in the way she had been waiting for, but noticing her nonetheless. The river below the bridge did not hear the splash it was expecting. Instead, the air where Izumi Midoriya had been standing folded quietly inward, the way fabric folds when something is pulled through from the other side, and then smoothed itself out again, as if nothing had happened. The bridge was empty. In a completely different dimension, in a world that ran entirely on cursed energy and spiritual warfare, and the barely contained catastrophe of 4 special-grade sorcerers trying to hold back 16 special-grade curses, something new arrived. Not with a bang. Not with a dramatic declaration, or a flash of supernatural light, or any of the other things that usually accompany the emergence of a new special-grade entity. It arrived the way all the best disasters do. Quietly, without warning, and without any intention whatsoever of being manageable. Chapter 2, The Jujutsu High Problem. Gojo Satoru had a headache. This was, objectively speaking, not supposed to be possible. He was the strongest. He was also the most annoyingly healthy person at Tokyo Jujutsu High, which was a low bar given that most of his colleagues treated their bodies like equipment to be repaired rather than maintained, but still, Satoru Gojo did not get headaches. Except he currently had one, and it had been growing steadily since 3:17 in the morning, when his 6 eyes had registered something that should not exist. He was sitting in his classroom, or rather, he was draped across 3 desks in his classroom in the way that communicated very clearly that sitting was for people who hadn't transcended conventional spatial orientation. wearing his blindfold and holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold 45 minutes ago, because he kept forgetting to drink it every time his brain tried to process what his eyes had shown him. His 6 eyes processed the world at a level of detail that was, frankly, excessive. He could see the flow of cursed energy with a clarity that most sorcerers would consider supernatural, even by Jujutsu standards. He could tell you the exact grade of every curse within a 2-kilometer radius. He could tell you the cursed energy output of every sorcerer in the building, the structural weak points in the school's barrier system, the location and intent of every hostile entity in the vicinity. What he could not tell you was what the thing currently sitting in the abandoned classroom on the 3rd floor was. Not because he couldn't see it. He could see it very clearly. That was, in fact, the problem. What he was seeing did not make sense. He had seen every category of cursed spirit. He had seen disaster curses born from humanity's most primal fears, the fear of the earth, the fear of the sea, the fear of other people. He had seen vengeful spirits and imaginary spirits and disease curses, and the particular specific horror of Sukuna's finger bearers. He had, at this point in his career, seen essentially everything that the cursed energy ecosystem of Japan could produce. He had never seen anything like what was sitting on the 3rd floor. It was not a spirit born from fear. Fear produced a specific quality of cursed energy, wild, reactive, instinctive, the energy of something that wanted to hurt because pain was all it understood. Fear curses were loud in the way that Gojo's 6 eyes registered loud, saturated with a specific chaotic frequency that he could identify the way a musician identifies a key. This was not fear. It was something quieter and infinitely more calculated. He tilted his head slightly, still draped across the desks, and let his 6 eyes focus on the entity 3 floors above him. It was sitting very still. Sitting, which was already unusual. Most curses of this energy output didn't sit. They loomed. They radiated menace in the lazy, unconscious way that things with too much destructive potential tend to radiate menace, because containment is an effort and most curses don't bother with effort. This one was sitting like it was thinking. Like it was doing something with that silence that Gojo, who could process the structural mathematics of infinity in real time, found he could not quite parse. Its cursed energy output was, he checked again, because the number seemed wrong, special grade. Comfortably special grade. Possibly beyond comfortably special grade, in a way that he was going to need a minute with before he said out loud. And it was not attacking anything. It was not haunting anything. It was sitting in an empty classroom on the 3rd floor of Tokyo Jujutsu High, in the middle of the night, and it appeared to be doing what Gojo could only describe, baffled, as taking stock. He got up. This was unusual enough that his cold coffee fell off the desk, and he didn't catch it, which Nanami, had he been present, would have taken as a serious warning sign. Satoru Gojo always caught things. He had infinite reflexes built into the literal fabric of his spatial manipulation. He left the coffee on the floor and went to the 3rd floor. Chapter 3, The Girl in Classroom 3B. He found her in the dark. She was sitting on a desk, not behind it, on top of it, cross-legged, in the specific posture of someone who had been sitting in the same position for long enough that they had started making it comfortable out of stubbornness. The moonlight came through the windows in thin strips and caught the edges of her, which were wrong in the way that all curses were wrong at the edges, slightly more present than the air around them, slightly too defined, the outline of something that existed outside the rules of normal matter. She looked like a girl. This was the part that Gojo's 6 eyes kept snagging on, the part that refused to compute correctly. She looked like a 14-year-old girl with wild green hair that the moonlight turned silver at the ends, wearing a school uniform from a system he didn't recognize, sitting on a desk and staring at nothing with the focused intensity of someone working through a problem that they have been working through for a very long time. Her cursed energy was. He stopped thinking about numbers. Numbers weren't doing the job here. Numbers implied something quantifiable, something that could be placed on a scale and compared to other things on a scale. What he was standing in the doorway of a classroom looking at was not something that belonged on a scale. It was something that made the scale irrelevant. And it was aware of him. It had been aware of him before he reached the 3rd floor, he realized, possibly before he left his classroom. Those green eyes, which were not quite the right shade of green for anything natural, had tracked to the doorway with a precision that had nothing to do with hearing footsteps and everything to do with a level of environmental awareness that he recognized because he had it too. She was watching him the way he watched everyone else. He had never, in the course of his entire career as the strongest sorcerer alive, been on the receiving end of that kind of watching. It was deeply strange. "You're Gojo Satoru," she said. Not a question, not nervousness. Not the awe or fear or calculated flattery, that he was so comprehensively used to that he had built his entire personality around finding it amusing rather than crushing. Just information, delivered in the voice of someone who had been analyzing him since before he arrived and had arrived at several conclusions he was not going to enjoy. "I am," he said, because there was no point in being coy about it, and also because something about the way she said his name made coyness feel deeply inadvisable. "You're in my school." "I noticed," she said. "I've been looking at the barrier system for about an hour. It's very good. The weaknesses are in the northeast corner and in the junction between the inner and outer boundary layers. You probably know that. You seem like the kind of person who knows that." He did know that. He also did not know any special grade curse that had ever opened a conversation by complimenting and critiquing his barrier system in the same breath, which was frankly a more sophisticated opening than most of his first-year students managed. "You're not from here," he said, because his 6 eyes had been telling him this in increasingly insistent terms since he walked in the door and he had run out of ways to delay addressing it. She looked at him for a long moment. Something moved across her face that was not quite any emotion he had vocabulary for, not with cursed spirits anyway. It was too controlled and too aware of itself to be grief, too specific to be general human pain, too ancient in its quality for someone who looked 14 years old. "No," she said, "I'm not." "Where are you from?" Another pause, the green eyes, cursed energy moving through them in a way that was deeply uncharacteristic of anything he had catalogued, dropped to her hands for a moment. She was holding something. He hadn't noticed it in the dark, a small rectangle, worn at the edges from being handled extensively. "A notebook. Somewhere that doesn't have curses," she said, "or didn't before." "Before?" That word sat in the air between them with an unusual amount of weight. "What happened before?" Gojo asked. She looked back up at him. And Satoru Gojo, who had the most advanced sensory apparatus of any sorcerer alive, who could process the entire structural history of a space in the time it took most people to blink, who had looked at Sukuna's finger bearers with mild academic interest, and at disaster curses like interesting puzzles, felt, for the first time in a very long time, the particular and specific sensation of something he was not prepared for. "The world," she said simply, "told me I was nothing, for 10 years, every day, until I believed it." She opened the notebook. Her cursed energy, which had been sitting at a level that made the air in the room feel dense and wrong, shifted, not outward, not aggressively, but inward tighter, the way a weapon gets tighter when it is being brought to bear rather than stored. "I stopped believing it," she said, "right before I got here. I'd like to know what I am now." Gojo looked at her for a long time. The 6 eyes were doing calculations that he was going to need to sit down with later. Calculations involving energy output and curse grade classifications, and the very interesting problem of an entity that had the cursed energy signature of something born from concentrated human suffering, but the behavioral profile of something that had retained every shred of its human intelligence and then added to it. "That," he said, "is an excellent question." He pulled a desk up, spun it around, and sat on it backwards with his arms crossed over the back, in the way that Ijichi found deeply unprofessional and that his students had learned to interpret as him deciding something was interesting enough to actually pay attention to. "I'm Gojo Satoru," he said again, but differently this time, not information, an introduction. "I'm the strongest, which means I'm also the most qualified person in this world to tell you what you are, so tell me everything." She looked at him. Something complicated moved through those not quite right green eyes. "Everything is a lot," she said. "I have time," he said, "and I'm very fast at processing information." A pause. Then, so quiet he almost missed it, something that might have been the ghost of a very dark sense of humor. "I have 47 notebooks." He grinned, the real one, the one that made his first years nervous, because it meant he was genuinely interested, and genuine interest from Gojo Satoru tended to be accompanied by significant property damage and paradigm-shifting consequences. "Perfect," he said, "start at the beginning." She opened notebook number 1. And Satoru Gojo, the strongest sorcerer alive, settled in to listen to the story of a girl who had been built into the most dangerous thing in 2 dimensions by a world that thought it was throwing her away. Chapter 4, notebook number 1. Here is what she told him. Not quickly, not all at once. She told him the way she had learned to do everything, methodically, in order, with the specific precision of someone who had trained herself to see patterns in things that other people dismissed as noise. She told him about the doctor's office, the X-ray, the toe joint. She told him about the boy she had called Kaken, which Gojo filed under things that made his jaw tighten in a way he did not entirely understand, given that he was listening to a cursed spirit narrate her own origin story, which was not normally the kind of thing that produced jaw tightening. She told him about the notebooks, all 47 of them, the burned ones replaced without complaint, the ones she had memorized so completely that burning them was essentially symbolic because she kept every word of them in her head, reorganized and cross-referenced and updated in real time with every new hero analysis she performed. She told him about All Might. This was the part where the cursed energy in the room changed. Not dramatically, not the way disaster curses express strong emotion, which was usually by producing localized natural disasters. Mori controlled than that, Mori deliberately contained. The kind of control that was itself a statement. She was aware of what she was, aware of what her energy could do if she let it move freely, and she had made a decision about not letting that happen. Which was, Gojo thought, watching the energy distribution in the room with his 6 eyes, more self-awareness than most human sorcerers managed. He said no, she said. The notebook was open in her lap. She wasn't reading it. She was looking at the wall. Gently. He made sure to do it gently, like that made it better. Did it? Gojo asked. No, she said. It made it worse. If he'd been cruel, I could have been angry. Instead, he was kind and I just felt. She stopped. The energy tightened another fraction. Small. I felt very small. She turned a page in the notebook. I had read about quirk counseling for quirkless children, psychological support structures for children who receive the diagnosis. I had actually written a whole analysis of the hero society support systems and where they failed because I was going to fix them when I became a hero. A pause. Nobody offered me any of that. They just said no and moved on to the next person. Gojo said nothing. He had many thoughts, most of them pointed in the direction of a specific symbol of peace, but he kept them behind his teeth for now. The boy, he said instead, Bakugo. The energy tightened very significantly. He watched it with professional interest, the way one watches a controlled detonation from a safe distance. Kaken, she said, and the word came out stripped of warmth in a way that was more affecting than anger would have been. He said. She stopped. He told me that even if I did something reckless, it didn't mean I could be a hero. He told me I would always be Deku. What's Deku? A word that means useless, unable to do anything. She closed the notebook. He said it in front of our childhood hero while that hero watched and did not correct him. Gojo processed this. The hero watched, he said. All Might watched, she said, very quietly. He had just told me I couldn't be a hero, and then he watched. The air in the classroom got very still. Gojo's 6 eyes were doing several things at once, tracking her energy output, cataloging her behavioral responses, comparing her profile against every curse category he had on file, and arriving at the same conclusion from 6 different angles. She was not a disaster curse. Disaster curses were born from collective fear, from the anonymous weight of millions of people dreading the same thing. They were powerful and they were terrible, but they were also, in an important sense, impersonal. Jogo had never hated a specific volcano. Hanami had never been wronged by a particular tree. She was not a vengeful spirit in the traditional sense. Vengeful spirits were born from death, from the moment when strong negative emotion crystallized at the boundary between life and whatever came after. She had not died. She had been, as far as he could tell, standing on a bridge at the moment of maximum accumulated grief, in a world where the relevant energy system was quirk-based rather than curse-based, and the pressure of 10 years of specific, focused, meticulously catalogued suffering had simply overflowed into the only available channel, the channel that did not require a quirk. The channel that had always been there, invisible to quirk-based detection systems, waiting for enough negative energy to coalesce into something with awareness and intent. She was something new. Born not from collective fear, not from a single death, not from folklore or legend. Born from the very specific, very targeted, very methodically documented experience of a single girl being told she was nothing by the systems that were supposed to protect her. Which meant that her cursed technique, and she would have won, every consciousness of her grade had won, was not going to be something simple like controlling fire or manifesting shadows. It was going to be something that reflected exactly what she was made of. He was looking forward to finding out what that was and simultaneously aware that he should probably be more concerned about finding out what that was than he currently felt. You said you stopped believing it, he said. Right before you got here, what made you stop? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that Gojo Satoru, who had grown up knowing he was the strongest and had spent his entire career being right about that, had never once expected to hear from a newly manifested special grade curse spirit in an empty classroom at 3 in the morning. I got angry, she said simply. Not sad anymore, not defeated, just angry. Like something in me decided that if the world was going to give me nothing, then nothing was what I was going to take from it, starting with everything they said I couldn't have. She opened notebook number 48. The first page, the one she had written before everything changed. He could read it from across the room, because his 6 eyes did not need proximity, and the words were written in small, careful handwriting that looked nothing like grief and everything like a battle plan. Notes on the Destruction of Hero Society, Volume 1. And below that, threat level maximum, asset me. Gojo read it twice. Then he did something he had not done in a professional context, since he was a child prodigy being evaluated by people who didn't know what to do with him. He felt, cleanly and without ambiguity, the recognition of a truly comparable intelligence. Not equal, he was still the strongest. He was always the strongest. That was not humility or arrogance, it was just what the numbers said. But comparable, operating on a level that the rest of the world was not, in ways that were specific and unusual and frankly impressive in a field where impressive was hard to achieve. You analyzed your own destruction, he said. I analyze everything, she said, and now there was something in her voice that was definitely dark humor, the graveyard kind, the kind that gets very funny when nothing else is available. It's a habit, was a habit. I'm not entirely sure what the grammar is for what I am now. Present tense, Gojo said, definitely present tense. She looked at him. For the first time since he walked in the door, something in her face changed in a way that was not analysis or control, or the careful management of 10 years' worth of grief. Something that was almost, not hope. Hope was the wrong word. Hope implied passivity, implied waiting, more like the specific expression of someone who has been fighting alone for so long that they had assumed that was simply the default state of existence, encountering the unexpected information that it might not have to be. What am I? She asked. Gojo thought about it for exactly 1 second, which for him was the equivalent of a very thorough analysis. Honestly, he said, you're the most interesting thing that's happened to Jujutsu Society in at least a decade, possibly 2. She stared at him. That's not an answer. No, he agreed, but it's the truth, and the actual answer is going to take longer because it involves concepts you don't have vocabulary for yet, so we're going to need to start from the beginning. He stood up, tucking his hands in his pockets with the casual energy of someone who had just decided something. You're going to need to understand what cursed energy is, what curses are, why you're now one of them, and then... He paused. The grin against the real one. Then we're going to figure out your cursed technique, which I am personally very curious about, because I have a theory, and if I'm right it is going to be extremely inconvenient for a large number of very powerful people. She looked at him for a long moment. 47 notebooks, 10 years of meticulous documentation, a brain that had been analyzing Hero Society's weaknesses since she was 6 years old, and all it needed was a target and a direction. Inconvenient for who? She asked. Everyone who assumed the world made sense, Gojo said cheerfully. Another pause. I don't have a name for what I am anymore, she said. You have the one they gave you, Gojo said, the one they meant as an insult. She went very still. Deku, he said, can't do anything, useless. He tilted his head. Seems like exactly the kind of name a curse built from 10 years of being told that should keep. Turn it into something else. Make it mean what you decide it means. The green eyes held something complicated and very bright. They burned my notebooks, she said quietly. Every time they burned them, I just wrote them again. Good habit, Gojo said. They thought it was pathetic, she said, writing the same things over and over, refusing to accept the conclusion. They were wrong, he said simply, refusing to accept a conclusion that the evidence doesn't support isn't pathetic, it's rigorous. He picked up his forgotten cold coffee from the floor, looked at it, put it back down. Come on, I'll show you the building. Try not to passively curse anything on the way. She slid off the desk. She was small 14, and small for 14, the kind of small that her world had probably used as another data point in the argument that she was nothing. Standing in the dark with her cursed energy visible only to him, and her notebook tucked under one arm, she looked like a child. His 6 eyes told a completely different story. His 6 eyes said, special grade. His 6 eyes said, unknown technique, unknown limits, unknown ceiling. His 6 eyes said, in the specific way, they said things that he had learned to take seriously. This one is going to change everything. He had heard that before, he had been that once, the thing that changed everything. He walked out of the classroom. After a moment, so did she. Behind her on the desk where she had been sitting, notebook number 1 fell open to its first page. The moonlight caught the words written there at 6 years old, in the round, uncertain handwriting of a child who was already building her own architecture against a world that had already decided she was too small to matter. Hero Analysis for the Future, Volume 1. Author Izumi Midoriya. Future Hero Deku. The notebook sat there in the dark for a long time. Then the cursed energy in the room settled, quiet as a held breath, around the first page. Like something keeping it safe. Like something that had not, despite everything, entirely given up on the girl who wrote it. Chapter 5: What NANAMI thinks about all of this. Kento Nanami arrived at 6:45 in the morning for his shift, found Gojo lounging in the hallway outside classroom 3B with a new cup of coffee, and the specific expression he wore when he had discovered something he found more interesting than work, and immediately turned to go back the way he came. "Nanami," Gojo said. "No," said Nanami. "I haven't even explained yet." "You have your discovery face on," Nanami said without turning around. "Your discovery face historically precedes events that I end up filing 14 incident reports about. This is different. It is never different. There's a new special grade in classroom 3B. Nanami stopped. He turned around slowly, with the specific energy of a man who has accepted that his morning was not going to go the way he planned, and is in the process of adjusting his entire psychological framework accordingly. "Exorcise it," he said. "I don't think that's an option. Everything is an option." "She was reading her homework when I left," Gojo said. "Well, notebook, she has 47 notebooks. She's already identified 6 structural weaknesses in the barrier system and written 2 pages of analysis on the curse ecosystem I described to her, which she apparently does not have in her home dimension." Nanami stood very still for a moment. "Her home dimension," he repeated. The special grade is from another dimension." "It gets more interesting," Gojo said, in a tone that Nanami had learned to interpret as danger dressed up as enthusiasm. "She's not a traditional curse. He paused, apparently enjoying the process of finding the right word. "She's a concept curse. You know how Mahito was born from the hatred humans feel toward each other?" "Yes," Nanami said, very carefully. "She was born from the specific, concentrated, decade-long experience of being told by every authority structure in her world that she was worthless and could not be what she wanted to be." Silent. "So she's essentially," Nanami said, "a living embodiment of systemic failure." "I prefer accumulated institutional betrayal, but yes." "And her technique?" "Don't know yet," Gojo said, "but based on her origin concept, I have a theory." "I don't want to hear the theory," Nanami said, even though he very much needed to hear the theory, which was extremely frustrating. "My theory," Gojo continued regardless, "is that her technique is something in the nature of negation, dismantling systems, making limitations not apply to her, the way they didn't apply to her when she crossed dimensions without a jujutsu framework to enable it. She didn't get here through any mechanism we understand. She got here because something she is fundamentally is a refusal to accept the limits placed on her." A very long pause. "Gojo," Nanami said. "Yes. You are describing a curse whose core concept is the systematic dismantling of rules and limitations." "Correct. And you brought her into the school." "I didn't bring her. She manifested in classroom 3B. There's a distinction." "You left her in the school." "She's reading," Gojo said. "She's been nothing but intellectually engaged and carefully controlled since I met her. She hasn't passively cursed anything, and trust me, a special grade could do significant passive damage just existing in a space without control, which she has in frankly impressive quantities for something that manifested approximately 4 hours ago." Nanami looked at the door of classroom 3B. "What does she want?" he asked. Gojo was quiet for a moment, which was unusual enough that Nanami looked at him. "She wants to know what she is," Gojo said. "She wants to understand the system she ended up in." And another pause, and Nanami caught something in his expression that he filed carefully because it was not something Gojo showed often, something that was not quite protectiveness and not quite recognition and was uncomfortably close to both. She wants to not be told no again, by a world, by a system, by anything. Nanami looked at the door for a long time. "The higher-ups," he said finally, "when they find out there's an unregistered special grade on school grounds." "Already looking forward to that conversation," Gojo said. "They will want her sealed or exorcised." They can try, Gojo said cheerfully. I'd watch. I'd probably need to help her not kill anyone in the process, which I consider a reasonable growth opportunity for everyone involved. Nanami closed his eyes, opened them, adjusted the knot of his tie with the specific energy of a man making peace with an inevitability. What's her name? He asked. Izumi Midoriya, Gojo said. She goes by Deku. Nanami turned, walked to the door of classroom 3B, and opened it. She was sitting exactly where Gojo had left her, on the desk, cross-legged, notebook open, writing with a pencil she had apparently found somewhere with the focused concentration of someone taking extremely thorough notes. She had already filled 6 pages since Gojo left. He could see the diagram on one of them from the doorway, a detailed schematic of what looked like a cursed energy flow chart, annotated in small handwriting with questions and hypotheses, and 3 separate color-coded columns. She looked up when the door opened. Nanami looked at her. His heavenly restriction gave him no access to Jujutsu, which meant he could not see her cursed energy the way Gojo could. What he could see was her face, which was 14 years old and utterly exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with sleep deprivation, and everything to do with a type of tiredness that accumulated over years rather than nights. He recognized it. He had been a salaryman once, before Jujutsu. He knew the specific exhaustion of someone who had been running on the empty side of hope for long enough that they had stopped noticing how empty it was. Kento Nanami, he said, grade 1 sorcerer. She looked at him with green eyes that were not quite right. Izumi Midoriya, she said, formerly quirkless, currently. She paused, apparently searching for vocabulary, something else. Gojo said you've identified weaknesses in the barrier system. 6, she said. Do you want me to write them up formally? I wasn't sure of the filing procedure. Nanami looked at her for another moment. Then he walked in, pulled up a chair, properly, not on top of the desk, he was not Gojo, and sat down. Start with the northeast corner, he said. Walk me through your analysis. She looked briefly, quickly, at the door where Gojo was still leaning with his coffee and his insufferable expression. Then she looked back at Nanami and opened a fresh page. The northeast corner has a frequency mismatch, she said, between the inner barrier layer and the outer one. They're operating on slightly different resonance cycles, which creates a window approximately every 4 minutes and 17 seconds, where the phase alignment is weak enough that something with a high cursed energy output could breach it, Nanami said. Could walk through it without triggering any of the alert systems, she said. I've been timing the cycle, 417, consistently since about 4 a.m. Nanami looked at Gojo. Gojo shrugged with the specific cheerfulness of someone who had already incorporated this information into a plan they were very pleased about. Nanami looked back at the girl on the desk. You timed a structural weakness in our barrier system, he said, for approximately 2 hours in the middle of the night, alone, having just arrived in a completely unfamiliar dimension. I had time, she said. And you're telling us about it. She looked at him steadily. I'm not interested in breaching your barrier system, she said. I'm interested in understanding it. There's a difference. Nanami considered this. There is, he agreed. He opened his own notebook, because Kento Nanami, unlike most of his colleagues, also kept meticulous notes and uncapped his pen. Start from the northeast corner, he said again. And Izumi Midoriya, who had been born from the specific grief of being told her analysis was worthless, began her first briefing with someone who listened. In the hallway, Satoru Gojo drank his coffee, which was still too cold, and felt something settle in a way he would have had trouble explaining to anyone who asked. His 6 eyes tracked her energy, steady and vast and controlled, the energy of something that had decided what it was and was no longer asking permission. Behind him, down the hall, the morning light started coming through the windows. The school was waking up. Somewhere below them, first-year students were beginning to arrive. Yuji, who would sense her before he saw her. Megumi, who would analyze the energy signature and reach exactly the wrong conclusion before reaching exactly the right one. Nobara, who would walk into classroom 3B, look at the girl on the desk, and say the first genuinely kind thing that Izumi Midoriya had heard from a peer in a very long time. Something so simple and so direct that it would catch her completely off guard. But that was later. Right now there was just Nanami taking notes, and Izumi explaining barrier theory, and Gojo in the hallway, watching the sun come up on the first day of whatever this was going to become. He already had a name for it. He just wasn't going to say it out loud yet, because saying things out loud was for people who weren't absolutely certain they were right, And Satoru Gojo was always absolutely certain he was right, which meant he could afford to wait. He could wait until the first years met her. He could wait until the higher-ups found out. He could wait until the moment she discovered what her cursed technique actually did, which was going to be the most interesting thing that had happened to Jujutsu Society in his lifetime, and possibly in recorded history. He could wait. He was, after all, the strongest. He had time. The calm did not last. It never does, not in a system that has just introduced something it was never designed to contain. Izumi felt it first. Not outside, not from the hallway. Inside, something shifted in the structure of her own existence, subtle, almost unnoticeable if she had been anyone else. But she had spent 10 years cataloging microscopic differences in behavior, in patterns, in systems that other people ignored. She noticed. Her pencil stopped mid-sentence. The line she had been writing, a clean diagram of barrier resonance cycles, bent slightly at the edge, not because her hand moved, because the paper did. Just a fraction. Nanami's eyes flicked down instantly. Izumi did not look up. She was watching the page. Analyzing. Interesting, she said quietly. The air around her shifted. Not violently, not like an explosion. Like pressure. Like something in the room had increased in density by a percentage too small for most people to notice and far too precise to be random. The pencil in her hand snapped. Not from force. From stress. Nanami stood up. In the hallway, Gojo's smile disappeared. Inside the classroom, Izumi tilted her head slightly, observing the broken pencil like it was a data point rather than an accident. I didn't apply pressure, she said. You didn't need to, Gojo said, already stepping into the room. His 6 eyes were locked onto her. Not casually anymore. Fully engaged. Because what he was seeing had just changed. Her cursed energy, which had been controlled, contained, precise, was doing something new. It wasn't leaking. It was rejecting. The space around her was adjusting. Subtly, wrongly, like reality itself was being asked a question it did not have the correct answer to. Nanami's voice was sharp. Gojo. I see it, Gojo said. Izumi finally looked up. Something changed, she said. Not panic, not fear, just observation. The system isn't behaving consistently anymore. The system, Gojo repeated. Yes, she said, the rules here, there. She paused. The word came slowly. Flexible. The window behind her cracked. A thin line at first, then another. No impact. No external force. Just pressure. Controlled. Focused. Wrong. Nanami moved instantly. Everyone out. Wait, Gojo said. Because he was watching something very, very important. Izumi Midoriya looked at her own hand. Turned it slightly. Observed the way the air around her fingers bent, not visibly, not dramatically, but enough that his 6 eyes could confirm it without doubt. Then she said, very quietly, I think things that were true before. The crack in the window spread. Don't have to be true anymore. Silent. Gojo Satoru smiled again. Slowly this time. Not amused. Not casual. Excited. Yeah, he said. That's exactly what I was afraid of. Nanami did not smile. Nanami, in fact, took one very deliberate step back. Because he understood something that most people in that room did not yet. This was not an outburst. This was not loss of control. This was worse. This was control discovering a new variable. Izumi, he said, voice steady, stop. She blinked once. Not confused. Processing. The cracks in the window stopped spreading immediately. Not slowly, not gradually. Instantly. Like a command had been executed. The pressure in the room dropped by a fraction. Not gone, never gone, but reduced, contained. Gojo's eyes narrowed behind the blindfold. Again, he said. Nanami shot him a look. This is not. It's exactly what this is, Gojo cut in, calm and sharp now. We need to know what she can do before someone else finds out first. That landed. Nanami exhaled slowly. Izumi looked between them, then back at her hand. You want me to repeat the condition, she said, not a question. Yes, Gojo said. A pause. Then, what condition? Izumi considered that carefully. The moment before the change, she said, there was a discrepancy. The system behaved in a way that contradicted its own rules. The window, Nanami said. Yes, she nodded. The structure should not fail under no external force, but it did. Gojo leaned forward slightly. And what did you do about it? Another pause. Longer this time. I didn't accept it, she said. The room went quiet. Gojo smiled wider. Of course you didn't. Izumi looked down at the broken pencil, still in her hand. I identified it as incorrect, she continued, and then her fingers tightened slightly. The air around them shifted again. Not violently. Precisely. I rejected the result. The second pencil on the desk, untouched, snapped clean in half. Nanami moved again, faster this time. Stop. It stopped. Instantly. Izumi's eyes flickered. Not fear. Recognition. That was easier, she said quietly. Gojo laughed once. Not loudly. But there was something in it now that hadn't been there before. Interest. Danger. That, he said, is not a normal cursed technique. I assumed as much, Izumi replied. Nanami didn't sit back down this time. What are you doing? He asked. She thought about it. That was the most terrifying part. She actually thought about it. I don't think I'm doing anything, she said slowly. I think I'm deciding. Deciding what? What applies to me? Silence. Gojo tilted his head. And when something does. Izumi looked at the cracked window. Then at the broken pencils. Then back at her own hand. It stops applying, she said. The words settled into the room like something heavy. Like a law being written in real time. Nanami understood first. Of course he did. He always did. That's not negation, he said quietly. Gojo didn't answer immediately. Because he was watching her again. Not her energy. So, the way she observed her own ability. The way she tested it. The way she didn't panic. Didn't celebrate. Didn't react emotionally at all. Just learned. No, Gojo said finally. That's not negation. Izumi looked at him. Then what is it? Gojo smiled. Slow, dangerous, certain. That, he said, is you deciding reality was wrong. Nanami did not like that answer. Not because it was wrong. Because it was right in a way that did not leave room for control. Reality is not something you decide, he said firmly. Izumi tilted her head. I didn't decide reality, she said. I decided an outcome. The outcome exists within reality, Nanami replied. And if the outcome is wrong, she asked. Silent. Gojo laughed softly. She's not breaking reality, he said. She's overriding it. Izumi looked back at her notebook. Then slowly, carefully, she wrote. Cursed technique hypothesis, conditional override. Below it, trigger contradiction between expected and observed result. She paused, then added, effect correction through rejection. Nanami watched her write. You're documenting it, he said. I document everything, she replied. Of course she did. Of course the most dangerous curse in existence came with notes. Gojo leaned against the desk. Try something else, he said. Nanami immediately cut in, absolutely not. Relax, Gojo said. We're not asking her to level the building, just test the boundary. Izumi didn't argue. She looked around the room. Analyzing. Selecting. Her gaze landed on something small. A piece of chalk resting at the edge of the board. She picked it up, held it between her fingers. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, she dropped it. The chalk fell, hit the ground, and shattered. Izumi frowned slightly. "That's expected," she said. Gojo watched closely. So, she picked up another piece. Held it again. And this time, "I don't like that result," she said. She let go. The chalk fell. It should have shattered. It didn't. It stopped. Mid-air. Not floating. Not held by force. Just refusing to continue falling. Nanami's eyes widened slightly. Gojo didn't move. He was watching something much more important than the chalk. He was watching her expression. Izumi stared at it, then reached out slowly. Tapped it. It didn't move. "Gravity applies," she said softly. Then corrected herself. Applied. The chalk dropped. Hit the ground. Shattered. This time, she let it. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Careful. Measured. Izumi looked at her hand again. Then at the broken pieces on the floor. Then at Gojo. "There are limits," she said. "Good," Nanami said immediately. Gojo didn't answer. Because he knew better. "There are conditions," he corrected. Izumi nodded slowly. Yes, that was worse. Much worse. Because limits can be measured. Conditions can be changed. She wrote again. Condition unknown requires testing. Then closed the notebook. The room felt different now. Not dangerous in the explosive sense, but unstable. Like something fundamental had shifted just enough that it couldn't be ignored anymore. Izumi stood up, looked at the door, then at the hallway beyond. She could feel them now. Clearly, the others, Mori variables, Mori data, Mori unknowns. Her fingers tightened slightly around the notebook. "Mori people are coming," she said. Gojo smiled. "Yeah." Nanami adjusted his tie again. And for the first time since this started, he looked concerned. Because this was no longer just a strange anomaly. This was escalation. Izumi took a step toward the door. Then stopped. Just for a second. Her eyes flickered slightly. Not cold. Not broken. Something else. Something buried under 10 years of being told no. "They won't say no," she said quietly. Not to them. To herself. Then she walked forward, opened the door, and stepped into a world that had absolutely no idea what it had just allowed inside. Behind her on the classroom floor, the shattered chalk pieces shifted slightly. Just once, like they were trying to move back together. Like the result itself hadn't been fully accepted. Like the rule was still negotiable. And far above the school, beyond barriers and systems, and everything designed to contain things like her. Something stirred. Not a curse. Not a sorcerer. Something older. Something that felt, for the first time in a very long time, challenged. That's it for today's part of the story. Tell me in the comments if you want part 2, because trust me, things are about to get way worse for everyone involved. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. It really helps the channel grow and lets me keep making stories like this. And you might want to subscribe. Because the next part, it's where the strongest curse stops playing nice.